In the world
when
of
it comes to money.
entrepreneurship with women, there's two patterns I think that are that predominate. The first pattern, and they might tie for first place, but so in no particular order. The one pattern is absolutely undercharging.
Hmm.
I can speak anywhere and say,
I
"How?
can
Let me
see
see with
that.
a show of hands, how many women here know they undercharge?" And
Yeah.
like either everyone's hand will go up or all but one person.
Yeah.
And so the undercharging is definitely a pattern. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of reasons for
Definitely.
it. The other pattern, and by the way, there's a huge ripple effect to undercharging. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
a problem. It's
Over
not,
a long term, right? I mean, it's like
oh,
if you're
long term.
undercharging, it just never goes anywhere because you're just
No,
stuck into
because
that place.
you're stuck
It,
in it and there's a mindset around it. You don't have enough you don't have enough profit margin to really be
yeah.
sustainable. So that actually so that ties into the secondary problem.
Hello, my extraordinary women friends. Happy almost fall. I'm feeling the change in the air, even seen some small batches of leaves starting to turn as I drove down my canyon this past weekend. There is a shift happening, not just with the fall and nature. I also feel it energetically. And perhaps this year, even more than others. Are you feeling it? I follow Tosha Silver and a few other astrologers, and while I can't fully explain what's happening astrologically, I do hear tell that we are in some big, important shifts, and so many good things are lining up for our world. I feel it, and I love it, and it's all feels like it's in perfect alignment. This time of year holds such personal meaning for me, and it's also a powerhouse season for me in my business. We are in full on focus mode for the 10th annual Extraordinary Women Ignite conference. And let me tell you, I can feel the magic already. Watching the registrations come in and imagining the breakthroughs we will witness again this year just fills me with so much joy. If you are ready to unlock more time prosperity and wealth prosperity in your business while connecting with my high vibe community of extraordinary women, Ignite is the place to be. This conference will give you the clarity, the inspiration, and a bold action plan you need to make 2025 your most impactful year yet. Together, we are leading the way in a new business paradigm, one that embraces purpose, balance, and true feminine power. If you haven't grabbed your ticket yet, you can still do so at CamiGellner.com/ignite. We'd love to have you join us. Now on to today's episode. I am so excited to introduce you to our guest, the incredible Kendall SummerHawk. Kendall is a 9-time Stevie Award-winning coach, a proud money feminist, and the creative founder of the Money Coach School for Women Entrepreneurs. For over 22 years, Kendall has been running a 7-figure business empowering women to take control of their financial power. Her vision? To create a world where women hold genuine money power, because money means choice, freedom, and ultimately changing the world when it's in the hands of women. In this episode, we dive into Kendall's journey, how to identify your money type, the biggest challenges women entrepreneurs face around money, and the concept of overflow that Kendall champions. Now, let's meet Kendall SummerHawk.
Well, welcome to Extraordinary Women Radio, Kendall. I'm thrilled to have you here today.
Thank you. Always excited to be talking about women and money, which I know we're going to get into here.
Yes, totally. I love those topics as well. And I've known of your work for many years. I know you and I share this love of horses, and that's a beautiful thing. That I know you used to coach with your horses too.
Mm-hmm. I did.
I
For years I did. And I actually wrote a book about it a long time ago, almost 20 years ago. And now I
yeah,
just have them to myself and spend time every day
yeah.
with the horses outside. They live about 15 feet out my back door here.
That's
And I
about
have
where
my
mine are
riding
too.
arena. Everything is like just right here. If I could sleep in a stall comfortably, I probably would.
Yeah, no, I get that. I totally get that. I've got my horses out in my backyard, and
Nice.
I just do 2 times a year retreats for my clients. So that's how the horses get integrated into my work. But
Nice.
it's always some of the most magical work that my clients get to experience over the course of a year, working, on a lot of, strategy and all that sort of thing. But when we can really bring in the horses, it just drops us in such a deep space. So I love it. I love that we share that. And I think that's why I've known of your work for a long time, because of that space. So you've been an entrepreneur for 22 years. You've built a 7-figure business. So kudos, kudos, kudos. Tell us a bit about your journey of, really building this company that you've built.
I think that's probably the hardest question you could ever ask.
Yeah, I mean,
Because
after 22 years, it's had lots of
yeah,
turns,
and I
right?
think it's actually 23 now.
Wow.
And so the business, the way it looks today is we focus exclusively on certified coach training. We certify women to be business or money coaches for women, really to serve the women's entrepreneurial market.
Yeah.
I started out as a coach and became very successful as a coach. And people would see how I would coach, and then they would want to say, hey, how do I coach like, it's like when Harry met Sally, I'll have what she's having. How do I coach
Right.
like you? And out
Yeah.
of that was birthed the certification programs.
Yeah.
And I was running very large group coaching programs. We'd have anywhere from 180 to 200 people at a time in these group coaching programs at various levels.
Yeah.
I have made, since 2008, which was the first year that I broke through 7 figures, I added it up not that long ago, and I've made just shy of $30 million since 2008.
Wow.
So it's a lot of money.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's really, congratulations
Yeah,
for
thank
really
you.
building
Thank
such a
you.
solid,
And
business. And
I think that it came from really, I absolutely love coaching. I love
yeah.
coaching. I love being a coach. I love what coaching can do for people.
hmm hmm
And I pretty early on decided to focus on coaching women entrepreneurs. And of course, now with the certifications, we want, there's only one of me. So we want, my legacy, I don't have kids. So my legacy is to train other women to be coaches for women entrepreneurs, either as a business coach or a money coach. But it really stems from this deeply rooted, deep seated passion of wanting to champion women, wanting to see women be successful, and really for a long time, I said my vision is to put the power of making money into every woman's hands.
Yeah.
And that is still true, absolutely. But it's really also now it's morphed into that my vision is to create a world where women hold genuine money power. And so the two go hand in glove beautifully.
Yeah.
But that's really what has always been like that. That's the lane I stay in. And that's what gets
Yeah.
me up and excited every day.
What was the breakthrough to that aha for you, that's where you wanted your focus to be?
I'm not sure. I wish I could say it was a moment that was a breakthrough like that.
Yeah.
It just wasn't so much. It was more of an evolution. But I think because of my mom,
hmm
and my mom works with me in the business. She has for a very long time. So my mom always worked for herself. She was very successful when I was growing up. She was successful as a hairdresser. She worked for
hmm
herself. It wasn't
hmm
a big hairdressing salon or anything like that. It was just herself. But she was booked out for weeks and weeks in advance. Everybody knew her. She was very well known around town, and kind of a standing room only sort of experience. So I got to see at a time when none of my friends, their mothers didn't work. My
Right.
mother was divorced. She ran her own business. She made her own money at a time when that just wasn't the norm. And
Right.
so for us, that was just normal. And I got to see that. That was so pivotal. And I would help her, at that time, it was primarily, it was cash. And, women at that time actually didn't have credit cards. A woman couldn't have a credit
Gosh.
card without a man signing for her. So
Yeah.
everything was cash or checks. So once a week, she would quote unquote do her books. And that meant counting the money and making up deposit slips. And I was really little, like I was 6 and 7 and 8, and would help her do that. And so I got exposed to a woman making money and actually like physically seeing the money right there in our hands. And sometimes we get to go to the bank with her. Hairdresser days off are Sundays and Mondays. So sometimes she would allow me or my brother one at a time to play hooky from school and hang out with her. And so I'd get to go to the bank with her and make the deposit. So I really have
You
this
had that from very beginning.
this influence of
Yeah.
and for her it was like no muss, no fuss. It was just like an average Tuesday. That's just what you do.
Right.
And no money drama. And my mother's a big time saver. And so we always lived well under our means. And then when I was 12, she built a very fancy house It was in Sunset Magazine a couple of times, and that's when I first got a horse and such. And that's the first time I really saw some money. And we weren't wealthy. I would say we were upper middle class, but it's the first time I got to see some money showing, which was very triggering actually, because I was
Oh,
raised
interesting.
I was raised you just don't,
Talk
not
about
that you
it.
don't talk
Yeah.
about money, but you don't show that you have money. You just don't show it.
Ah,
Very
ah.
secretive with
So
money.
that was part of your money story, is this that you kind of kept
Oh,
that?
and still is. I tell you,
Yeah.
I live in Arizona. If the ground wasn't so freaking hard here, I would bury money in a tin can or something. I'd go out in the backyard and dig and bury it. Yeah, no, I can be very secretive. And it's part of my money types in my
Yeah.
Sacred Money Archetype system. I can be very secretive with money.
Yeah. So you have worked with so many entrepreneurs over the years
Mhm.
and really
Thousands,
seen, yeah, right. And
thousands.
so you've
Yeah.
worked with them. And what, and I'm assuming that money was a core part of that challenge that you saw showing up again and again for your clients
Yeah.
that really helped you hone in on that. Is that true?
It is true. And it was something that I naturally gravitated towards. So going back to when I was a little girl, one of the banks here, I don't know how often they would do this. I have a child's memory, so time is,
Yeah.
odd, but they would periodically come in and have bank day. And they would set up a long folding table and they would ask one or two kids to volunteer to be banker. And my hand would always go up. I mean, I remember being 8 years old. I'll be
Oh my
banker.
gosh, that's
And
awesome.
so I sat behind the table and the kids would bring me their pennies and their nickels and their quarters and their little bank savings passbook. And I would take the money and stamp the book. Oh my God, I just loved it. I was so exciting. And so there was always this fascination with money, and just a fascination is the way to describe it. I always say I will be fascinated with money till the day I die. I find it
Yeah.
just fascinating, a mirror, it's illuminating. So in the coaching, working with clients, I ended up gravitating a lot towards helping women make money, obviously, but really on their pricing. And pricing
Hmm.
is such a wonderful, practical manifestation of money. I actually took one class in computer science and one class in accounting, and I got an A in both classes. And I thought I was going to kill myself from the accounting class. I hated it, just hated it. So it's like, okay, I'm not going to go be an accountant. So, but it was really about helping women make money and seeing what happens when women have money. And let me be very clear here. I grew up with having some privileges, absolutely. However, we were not spoiled. We had to work our little butts off for all kinds of things. But I got married very early, when I was very young, the first time I got married. And I spent a decade in really poverty. I mean, true poverty, like food scarcity. It was very difficult, horrific,
Hmm.
for a good 6 years of my first 6 years of being married, and really 8, 9 years. So I've not always had money. I've had struggles with money. I've, married somebody who was not good with money. I always say some people, like my mother, you can give her a nickel and she'll save a quarter. My first husband, if you gave him a quarter, he'd spend $1. So I had to deal with debt and all kinds of money issues. So I dealt with a lot of this myself as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that, when you deal with it yourself and then you also see it happening with your clients,
Hmm.
so you start seeing patterns and you start seeing,
Definitely.
yeah.
And it's funny too, because just to jump in, even before I was coaching, I worked in healthcare IT for 13 years. And I didn't, coaching wasn't even I didn't even know it was a thing at the time, but I would help my friends get out of debt. Like it was a time, you can't do it now because of privacy laws, but I would call the IRS, I would call the hospitals, and I would negotiate their debt for them. And I was like, oh, you owe the IRS? Let me look at this.
Let
Oh,
me
yeah, no,
help you.
I'll help you. I'll call for you, because I was like fearless with it. So, and you're not allowed to do that now. But to me, that was fun.
Yeah.
It was like really fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
So what were some of the patterns you saw in the world of entrepreneurship
in the world
when
of
it comes to money?
entrepreneurship with women, there's two patterns I think uh, that predominate. The first pattern, and they might tie for first place, but so in no particular order. The one pattern is absolutely undercharging.
Hmm.
I can speak anywhere and say,
I can
let me
see
see
that.
with a show of hands, how many women here know they undercharge, and
Yeah.
like either everyone's hand will go up or all but one person.
Yeah.
And so the undercharging is definitely a pattern. There's
Yeah.
all kinds of reasons for
Definitely.
it. The other pattern, and by the way, there's a huge ripple effect to undercharging. I mean, it's really
Yeah.
a problem. It's
Over
not,
a long term, right? I mean, it's like
oh,
if you're
long term.
undercharging, it just never goes anywhere because you're just
No,
stuck into
because
that place.
you're stuck in it, and there's a mindset around it. You don't have enough you don't have enough profit margin to really be
Yeah.
sustainable. So that actually, so that ties into the secondary problem. A second problem is that women are, I call it overflow. They are
Yeah.
not accustomed to experiencing overflow. And what's interesting, what I mean by overflow is very simple. I mean, I'm not a college graduate. I run my business with, second and third grade math skills, a mechanical pencil, and my phone calculator, So this is not rocket science here. The concept of overflow is just having more than enough. But the thing is this is the tricky part is, and again, there's lots of reasons, generational, historical, I think it might even be DNA reasons why this happens, certainly societal, that when I say more than enough, it's not even about the dollar amount, because I have coached women who are like always just at the brink. Like if they have 5,000 in their checking account, they have $5,500 in bills. Bills to pay. I've coached women to go from nothing to up 700, 800,000, $1 million, and they still have debt and they have no overflow. They have no extra. So the dollar amount doesn't matter. And there's good news in that, because the good news is that you can start to change that pattern with whatever level of revenue income you have coming in right now. You don't have to wait to make more. Well, I'll wait. I'll have overflow when I have more money. No, you actually probably won't. You need to start creating overflow now, even if it's $5. I mean, I always say it's not the number that matters. it's the habit, it's the action that really matters for most things with women and money. Not everything, but most things.
Yeah. I like both of those. I think that it makes a lot of sense that, they can kind of play hand in hand together, and they're old patterns and old habits, and changing that up. So some of that is, I mean, a lot of that's going to tie back to how does mindset come into the mix of this?
It's everything. So let's go back to pricings and women undercharging.
Right.
Mindset will show up with women saying, well, my clients won't pay more. That's a mindset.
Yeah, I've heard
It
that.
might be a client issue. Usually it's not. But my clients won't pay more. What will people think of me? Women have an enormous fear, very different than men. They have an enormous fear of judgment of others. And again, there's reasons why. If you go back to, caveman, cavewoman times, women were typically burdened with either being pregnant or with raising children. So, being part of a community, a tribe, is essential to one's survival. And so the idea of being kicked out of the tribe, of being ostracized in some way is, you're literally, your life is at stake.
Yeah.
So, here we've been around as a species for all these, millennium, but it doesn't matter. This is a primal part of our brain. And so in today's world, that might not sound logically true, but it is still in our emotional makeup. So women fear a lot of judgment. What will other people think? What will my family think? Who am I? Well, gee, I don't want to leave anybody out, but, people can't afford me. And I always say, don't climb into someone else's wallet. Don't do that. Whatever your business is, there's no way you can't, even going to free, there will be people who won't take you up on your service or your product. I primarily focus on women and service businesses, not product-based, but you can't go low enough to include everybody. And I also say, don't confuse your business with your charity. Don't confuse them. They're two different things. You charge appropriately. You take care of you. Most women do this backwards. I always say, you take care of you and your family, then the community, and then the world at large. And most women don't do that. And this is also, again, a societal pressure for women to think always altruistically. And, I'm going to save the world. They're like, we're allowed to make money as long as we want to give it away for charitable action. It's like, that's all part of that societal patriarchal pressure or messaging that's put on us. So I realize I just deviated pretty far from your question about mindset, but my shorthand answer
is an important part of it, though. It's all an important part of it, right?
We need to give
Yeah.
ourselves permission to make a lot of money. You're a good person. If you're a good
Yeah.
person without money, you're going to be a good person with money. Money doesn't change people. Money magnifies. Money
Yeah.
magnifies who you are. It doesn't change who you are. It
Yeah.
magnifies who you are.
Yeah. Well, I love that so much. I totally love it. And when you think about women today struggling to make more money, I mean, so we're in 2024, right? And there's women that are still, I mean, you've hit on some of these challenges that you're seeing. What are some of the things that you do to help your clients today? And I know you work with coaches to help their clients, but what are some of the core fundamentals that you're really helping your clients help their clients with around
I
this?
think it depends if I'm looking at it strictly through the money lens or through the business building lens. So through the business building lens, it's always the fundamentals. And actually, this is what we certify coaches in, are these fundamentals, because they're timeless and they're priceless. And that's who's your diamond level client. I just taught a class on this today to our certification students. First of all, every business on the planet has an opportunity to offer some type of high-end, what we call in the coaching world, high ticket. I used to call it platinum, premium. It's how I made all this money, was by offering platinum or premium, diamond level services. And so every business on the planet, I don't care what kind of business, has the opportunity to offer a high-end version of their service. And to do that typically requires some changes. They need to stop giving away so much at the lower end, which is typically where they're giving away platinum level for peanuts pricing, right? So it's really looking at their pricing, looking at how their offers are structured, whatever kind of business, it doesn't matter how their offers are structured, elevating who their ideal client is. So going after what I call a diamond level client. Most people have it flipped around to where, excuse me, let me say it this way. I like to have clients flip it around and say, what if your topmost client now was actually your lowest tier client going forward?
Nice.
And what does that do? That creates a gap. It creates an opening to say, oh, well, then who would be my top tier diamond level client? And in making those changes, and then of course the pricing goes along with that, streamlining a service, getting really clear, not customizing services, having scalable services, so repeatable, an offer that people can come in over and over and over again. And then of course, eventually having team being able to deliver the service for you. So those are kind of the basics of building a successful business. Very, very simple, very timeless, very successful. But along that goes with that is all the mindset. All the mindset crops up for women.
Oh, it does. It definitely does. I mean, it's like we can have I always say that we can always have all the right pieces in place for our businesses. And then, stuff comes in to side rail that. And it's often the mindset component.
It is. It's always the mindset. And on the money side, it's, it's to open up a savings account. Most women don't have a savings account. This is very basic. How can you save money if you don't have a savings account? Now, I'm a saver, but my archetypes and my money archetypes, I'm ruler, maverick, and accumulator. So the ruler and the maverick, we do like to spend money. I mean, you're looking at the picture of my horse behind here, and he was expensive. And I've got another one out there that was expensive. I mean, these are expensive horses. They're from Spain, but so it's not like I don't like to spend money. I do, but to save money, you have to. Stephanie, of all, money loves a home. You have somewhere to put it, and that isn't in your checking account. It's getting used. So having a savings account, getting stepping into and adopting this principle of overflow, and saying, okay, what would that look like? And so one of the practical exercises that I give to people, and my certification students will give, is to say, like you get, like a client pays you, have a little bit of money coming into your checking account. What most women do immediately is they whisk it right out to paying bills or paying down credit card debt, whatever they're going to do. And that's like treating money like Teflon. He said, no, you don't want to treat money like Teflon. You want to treat money like Velcro. Okay. You want money to stick to you. So just let it sit there for 7 days. Yeah. Let it sit there for 7 days and don't touch it, and just be with the feelings. Notice what comes up for you, knowing that money is there and you're not touching it. Because for most people, it's very uncomfortable, really uncomfortable.
Interesting, really interesting. So I know that you help people really discover their money type with your archetype
Yeah.
quiz. Tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. The Sacred Money Archetypes, it's been life-changing. And so there are 8 archetypes,
Mm-hmm.
and you take the quiz. The quiz takes about 10 or 15 minutes to take. It's quite a few questions, but it's
Mm-hmm.
extremely, like, freakishly accurate.
Yeah.
And you get the results right away in an email. And so it'll tell you, of the 8 archetypes, we pay attention to your top 3 highest
Mm-hmm.
scoring archetypes, and they work
Mm-hmm.
synergistically
Mm-hmm.
together. And, sometimes people have archetype envy. They'll say, oh, she's got such a better archetype than I. I mean, I love who I am with my archetypes. I love that. There's a couple archetypes I just don't get it. But and that's okay. They don't get mine. But the truth is, every archetype has the opportunity to make money.
Yeah.
Every archetype has the opportunity to create wealth.
Yeah.
But you have to understand your archetype. So, for example, me as a ruler, maverick, and accumulator, like, I'm all about creating money. I'm about taking some risks, which is, as I've aged, though, as I've gotten a little older, my risk taking capacity has definitely diminished. I'm like, yeah, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
And then the accumulator loves to save, and doesn't love to spend at all. So, you can't let your accumulator take over if you have that your top 3. But what I was going to say is that, so my money story, every archetype has its positives. Every archetype has its shadow side.
Yeah.
Mine is not
Yeah.
trusting. I don't trust with money. Super
Yeah.
secretive, like we were saying.
Yeah.
I worry about money incessantly.
Uh-huh.
It's like, this
Uh-huh.
is just a lifelong journey for me. Whereas my husband, I don't remember his exact order, but he's nurturer, alchemist, and connector. The connector is one I go, like,
Oh.
I just don't even get you. So for him, and he's always been in the money business. That's what's hysterical. But for him, he's like, he always trusts that money will just be there. It's like air. It'll just be there. And I look
Yeah.
at him and go, how do you do that? How do you do that? So he doesn't have a worry bone in his
Yeah.
body about money.
Yeah.
And
on our brain, how we are brought up, I mean, all our stories, really shape that, don't they?
It does. It shapes it. But I'll tell you something. I've really come to believe, after a lot of research and observation, after coaching, thousands of people, I really think our money archetypes, when you look at nature or nurture, I
Mm-hmm.
think the money archetypes are nature. I think
Oh,
we're born
interesting.
with them. Yeah, I really
Interesting.
do. And story after story of people who are raised, a certain way with money. And that certainly colors, it definitely colors or shades their money story, but their archetypes are their archetypes.
And that makes sense. I mean, think of siblings, right? Who grew up in the same household. They can have probably very different archetypes.
They can.
Yeah. I mean, I can think of,
And very
Yeah.
different than their parents.
Yeah.
So it's a fascinating thing. And I encourage everybody to go take the quiz. And there's some videos that go along with it. It's all for free. And you can go
Cool.
find out what you are. And
Excellent. And
and
where's
take the
that
quiz. That you can go to sacredmoneyquiz.com.
Cool.
Sacredmoneyquiz.com and take that quiz. And it's 64 questions.
Yeah.
So
it'll take some
it takes
time.
a few minutes. It's worth it, though.
Yeah. I love it. And so I know you focus a lot on really pricing correctly in your business. What's your number one tip for
Raise your
pricing
prices.
services? Raise your prices.
Just
I
raise
say
them.
that one all the time as well. I'm always telling my clients, raise your prices. They got to be
Yeah.
higher than that.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
here's to go in more depth about it. And never charge by the hour. I don't care what business somebody's in. Don't charge
Yeah.
by the hour. You got to do packages. I mean, we've coached so many people in the healing professions where charging by the hour is kind of like, that's the norm. It's like, yeah, don't do the norm, because all the healers are broke. Don't do
Right.
what broke people are doing.
Exactly.
You'll be broke. But I think to go deeper into that, raising your prices, one of the things that people say, focus on the results and charge based on the results. And I think that's hard for a lot of women to look at, especially I think that the way to look at this certainly is by results. Absolutely. But to look at the results, like, let's say your service, you're going to work with somebody for a few months of time, whatever. So it's not just to look at the results that a client experiences during that time you're working with them, but a year later, 2 years later, 3 years, 4 years down the road. And I know that's a stretch of our imagination, and we have to just kind of, imagine it, or, but when you look at the results over that longer trajectory of time, then you go back to what you're going to charge and go, oh yeah, wait, that's, yeah, I need to raise my prices, and not just raise them, but feel confident and feel good about,
walk in, like own what those prices,
really
like
own
embody it, like learn to be able to say
Exactly.
them and embody what that
Yeah,
price is.
exactly. Yeah,
Definitely.
that's well put.
Well, excellent. So where can people learn more about you, Kendall?
Sure. I have a podcast, which is called The Money Coach School.
Mm-hmm.
So you can go to themoneycoachschoolpodcast.com,
Mm-hmm.
and comes out every week on Fridays. And it's primarily for the coaching industry. So I'm talking about money, I'm talking about coaching, and I talk about pricing. So those are my three topics. How do you coach? How do you become a better coach? I'm a huge believer that the world needs masterful coaches.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see every single woman entrepreneur on the planet have her own business coach, preferably trained by me. And that would be awesome. So I talk a lot about coaching and coaching skills, and a lot of self-coaching, and talk about money and how to look at money inside one's business without getting spreadsheets. I am known for, I mean, I can open a spreadsheet, I can type a few things in, and I can do the tally thing. But beyond that, I can't do anything.
They're not your thing.
Oh God, no. I look at it and go, I just want to cry. So, so you're going to hear about money from a simplistic, thoughtful, deep thinking way of handling money, and how to look at money inside your business, and how to use inside the podcast, and how to use your thoughts about money to govern where you take your business. I mean, you know, we want to be, so I'm going to say something here. We want to be making business decisions based on our money mindset.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of business decisions are already being made based on money mindset, which is a scary thought for a lot of women. They're like, oh my God, that's not good news. But I think that's what's already happening. So let's make it, let's have you be really conscious about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. So the final question I always close with is, what are 3 pearls of wisdom you'd like to leave with us today?
3 pearls of wisdom, not just one, but 3 pearls. Well, I think we already hit on one, which is raise your prices, honest to God, and be willing to, be willing to walk through that fire of that emotional journey that it's going to take you on, because all those emotions, all those thoughts and feelings are already within you. They're already subconsciously governing you and controlling you. So let's get them out in the open, get coaching on it, and make more money in the process. So that's one pearl of wisdom. Raise your fees, by golly. And the other would be to know your money archetype. It explains so much about oneself. And I've had so many people then say, wow, that not only does this explain myself, but now I understand. So it creates a lot of self compassion, self empathy, and the ability to then make different decisions, and to not, to start to peel off the layers of shame or anything like that. Because there's a lot of money shame. There's a lot of shame around money and women. And the third pearl of wisdom, oh my golly, I don't know. Let's see. What would be a good one? My mind is going in 5 different directions with so many options here. I would say to be, actually, here's a pearl. Don't worry about getting out of debt. Don't make yourself broke getting out of debt. I'm masterful at getting people. Yeah, I'm masterful at getting people out of debt, because I started doing it so long ago. Don't make yourself broke getting out of debt. You need to have savings. You need to have that cushion. And you can do that and get out of debt. And you can do both, because otherwise you just perpetuate the cycle of being in debt. Yeah.
Well, this has been so full of wisdom. Thank you so much for all that you've shared today. And it's great to meet you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me. My pleasure.
You bet. Well, you have a good day.
Thank you.